find something that's going to take you out of your comfort zone and make some dope songs. At the end of the day, that's like, yes, we have to churn out beats, but at the end of the day, 99% of the population is listening to dope songs.
1, 2, yeah. Come on. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yes, sir, you are tuned in. This is for the SB1200, ASR 10s and NPC heroes. This is for the crate digging, loop getting, sound manipulators, the Fruity Loop reasoning machine innovators that pump the bass and frequently freak the kick in a stand till it slaps in your speakers. The sound providers that make sure the song is tight. Shout out to the producers, beats grinding live. Shout out to the producers, beats grinding life.
Welcome to the Beats Grinding Life podcast with your host Siren, a weekly interview podcast with inspiring music producers, where every week you will learn from a different music producer how to potentially take your music career to the next level.
Today's episode of Beats Grinding Life is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audio download and 30-day free trial at beatsbooks.com. Over 180,000 titles to choose from on your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Some recommended readings by past Beats Grinding Life guests like 48 Laws of Power, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, The Secret, Tools of Titans, and The Song Machine are all available with Audible. Once again, go to beatsbooks.com to get your free book. What's up, Beat Grinders? This is another episode of Beats Grinding Life. I'm your host, Siren Beats, and with us today we have Chris Mayday Rucks. Chris was an aspiring producer, now turned educator. He is the author of the book Don't Make Beats Like Me, a guide providing aspiring producers tools to make their dreams a reality. Hey, yo, Chris, what's up, man? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing great, man, and I'm honored that I'm here, so thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It's just an honor just to have you up on the show, man. Really appreciate your presence, man, and can't wait to pick your brain a little bit, man, and learn and, have the beat grinding community learn from you as well, man.
Word up. Let's do it.
Nice, man. Okay, well, man, I just read a brief intro on you, man. Why don't you fill in the blanks for us, man, and just let us know a little bit about who you are?
For sure, man. So I've had an interesting background, and that interesting background is kind of what's allowed me to be an author, writing to music producers. So I started making beats my last year of college and completely fell in love with it. Mm-hmm. Excuse me. Completely fell in love with it. I was like captivated. I rocked with production for years. And at some point, I was trying to figure out how to work in music as opposed to just making beats. Mm-hmm. And I ran into a really dope company called Dynamic Producer. Nice. And was working with the CEO and throwing events around the country and, inviting people to come speak to producers and shopping beats and kind of managing the community. And it really gave me this incredible perspective being a producer on one hand, but then working with hundreds of producers from all over the world at the same time. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where the shift happened for me, where I started becoming an educator. And it was at that time I realized that we were all struggling with the same challenges. Mm. It wasn't just, and being that I was like kind of a writer, truly, I decided to take what I was seeing, take that insight and channel it into a book to help future generations of aspiring producers. And I rock with that, man. I was working on the book for years. I discovered music licensing, which I thought was incredible because, while producers were struggling to get, beats off to local rappers or big time rappers, mm-hmm. Companies were snapping up beats with no problem. Right. And this is incredible. And I spent the next 7 years kind of working music licensing across A&R and publishing and marketing. And again, just another opportunity to work with hundreds of producers and composers and beat makers and just kind of pour that experience back into what would become Don't Make Beats Like Me. And yeah, man, I just got an awesome point of view.
That's dope, man. That's dope. First off, how were you able to link up with Dynamic Producer?
I didn't even know they were in Atlanta. I was down there. I moved to Atlanta after college, and I just happened to like email someone from the company, and like the boss lady who runs it, Felicia, hit me back and was like, I'm looking for some folks to work with, and once you come through. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, for sure.
Right.
Ended up rocking for a few years, man. We worked very closely, and just some awesome work for the production community. And man, it was a great chapter for me. Awesome,
man. That's what's up, man. Well, I'm sure, working for Dynamic Producers and being around all of those producers, I'm pretty sure that, like you said, everybody had the same dream. Everybody was struggling, but I'm sure that you got to see, the haves and have-nots and what the differences were between the two, right?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I saw.
Nice, man. Nice. That's a great perspective right there, man. So, okay, man. Well, I want to know, man, we ask everybody on this show, we want to know, the beginnings, what birthed you as a music producer, and I want to know, man, what made you want to start making beats?
So I'm a music fiend, just like your audience, everyone in the audience, like yourself. I attribute that to my father, who was playing a bit of everything when I was growing up. From like James Brown to Pink Floyd to Marcus Miller to Bob James to whatever. And as I got older, I really started to appreciate that diversity in music, and realized that it wasn't normal for people to kind of appreciate the whole spectrum like that.
Right.
And when I got to college, my first couple of days of college, man, I ran into a cat who's actually still a good friend of mine now, who had his MPC 2K in his dorm room and was spinning Bob James, what's the Ghostface Daytona 500 sample? Nautilus, yes. He was playing Nautilus in his room, and I never heard the original. I only knew the Ghostface joint.
Right.
It's like, yo, is that? And I'm going ham, what I'm saying, from like really appreciating an original record for the first time.
Right.
And, he's like, yeah, man, this is the sample for such and such. And, he's kind of showing me his MPC. And I write about this in a book, and I looked at it and I'm like, yo, that's a real serious looking piece of machinery that looks too much for me right now. So I just chopped it up and kept it moving. And I regret that I didn't get into production until 4 years later, until I was a senior.
Right.
And I hate that. I could have got a nice little head start. But I just got caught up my senior year, man, and I started using Fruity Loops, which I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just kind of arranging blocks on the screen, and it sounded awful, and yeah, very awful. And I ran into Acid. I don't even know if they still make Acid. This is old school,
right?
And I was kind of just grabbing MP3s off the internet, and I first started arranging samples and like realizing, oh, okay, this is a beat. Like, this is how it's done. And yeah, man, just moved through a bunch of different programs from there, and that was it, man.
Okay. So yeah, start off with the software and kind of stay with the software as opposed to hardware, then, right?
So I got an MPC 1000 as a graduation present.
Dope.
Shout out to moms who hooked me up, and I rocked with that for a long time, and eventually got Logic and was importing beats into Logic and kind of laying over really cheesy synths, and then eventually moved to Reason. Reason was the last program I used and kind of the tool that I got the most sharp with.
Okay, that's what's up, man. So when you're sharpening your skills and trying to become that next big producer, who are some of the producers that inspired you?
So growing up, man, I was all about who was I on as a youngin'? Of course, like Premier, Pete Rock, RZA,
nice,
Battle Cat, Manny Fresh, Alchemist, and then as I was older, you know, it kind of shifted to like Just Blaze, Kanye, DJ Toon was a big one for me. And just like influences from all around, man. DJ Khalil, who I was fortunate enough to interview for the book.
Dope.
So like my progression, you know, my influences, you know, span decades. And then you even have like old school, like Prince and Isaac Hayes and Gay. Like for me, those are the most incredible producers that are everywhere,
right.
You know? So all across the board.
Awesome, man. That's what's up, man. You know, a lot of those are usual suspects. But some of those, you know, are guys that we don't hear too often on the show, like Battle Cat. And but you know, you are showing your age by listing that group there, you know. But that's all right. I'm right there with you. What's that?
That's good company. So
yeah, it is. No doubt, man. Okay, man. Well, here on Beats Grinding Life, man, you know, we like to learn, you know, and the best way to learn is through failure. And so, you know, we gotta drag each guest through the mud just a little bit, man. Get you dirty, and we want to know, man, what's a failure or setback that you've had in your lifetime associated with music that you can tell us about, that you were able to bounce back from. So maybe that way we can learn from a setback or a mistake that you had.
Well, I'm glad that that's the focus. I'm glad that that's how you approach failure. Failure is an incredible teacher. Ironically enough, the entire book is written from the perspective of failure.
Wow. Nice.
The format of the book is, you know, there's 24 laws or rules, and I broke about 20 of them. Right. And the opposite half was my interviewing the platinum producers to kind of give me the perspective of what they did to achieve success. So you get this view of both sides, failure and success, you know, per chapter.
Nice. Dope.
And so my biggest failure was everything. I didn't have the appropriate hustle. I didn't have the appropriate discipline. I approached networking completely wrong. I was terrified of talking to people, and we know that's a complete no-no with production. I let my ego get in the way. I let pride get in the way. I let fear control the hell out of me and just make me make decisions that weren't in my best interest in the long run. So I have nothing but failures. And I think that's important to provide producers or anyone, because that's you automatically know what to avoid. This is about time, and failures failures cost time.
Right.
So that's kind of one of the inspirations. I wanted to help people avoid these very costly mistakes, so they could spend more time working on things that work.
Wow, man, that's a great answer right there, man. Well, thank you for sharing that. And Beat Grinders, I guess you guys know what you need to do. You need to start reading Don't Make Beats Like Me. You know, just to hear what Chris is talking about here. But man, I'm just gonna make you dig a little deeper, man, because here on Beats Grinding Life, man, we're all about the story. We want to hear you know, a story from you. And so, you know, I mean, I'm gonna take you to that hard time, man. I'm gonna try to make you cry a little bit, man. I want you to tell me one specific story, you know, that you can remember that you failed hard, you know, and so that maybe you know, one of the listeners here, you know, can probably resonate with the story and try to change things up a little bit.
For sure. So you know, when you're getting production advice, it's usually centered around things external to you. What sounds to use, you know, what software to cop, what keyboards are popping. And my entire perspective, or my point of view, is that the most important piece of the studio is the actual producer. And I like to address the person before the equipment.
Nice.
So from that perspective, one of the things that I feel that I let doubt kind of seep into my thinking too many times as a producer. And one of the stories I tell in the book is that I was at an event that my man was throwing. It was a release party for a Ghostface album.
Ooh.
And Ghostface is like my Jesus of hip hop, like Supreme. Nice. I came up on that sound.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how I managed to muster the courage to go talk to this dude. But I think because he was such an icon for me, I put away all that fear and I went over and said something to him. I'm talking to Ghostface and I'm like, yo man, is there somewhere where I could send beats? And he grabs one of his promo posters and scribbles the name of his manager. And I got this information now, and I go back home and I'm staring at it. And I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna get some beats together. I'm gonna send something. And another day goes by, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get something together. And then more days start going by, and eventually I let doubt take such a hold in me that I talked myself out of my ability to send dope beats to Ghost's manager.
Wow.
And like I imagine, some catastrophic event where he's like, who the hell is this sending these whack ass beats?
Right.
Let's fly a plane with his name over the sky so everybody can see, Benny the Monster sucks. And it's kind of the tricks that we play on ourselves as creatives. It is really vulnerable. And if you don't kind of take control of your emotions over your art, they will manipulate you and talk you out of things that you need to do.
Yeah.
And what could have happened for me if I sent, a couple of dope beats that Ghost like, his manager like, it could have changed my entire trajectory as a producer.
Yep.
But I'll never know.
Wow.
And this happens all the time. One of the things I say in the book is, Khalil was saying that, he didn't send beats to I think it was like Drake, because he was talking about, he didn't send beats to Drake for an early opportunity when Drake was like kind of just building crazy steam. And he psyched himself out. And I'm like, yo, you're DJ Khalil.
Yeah,
son.
right?
You letting doubt psych you out. And I'm like, yo, this touches everybody.
Yep.
This touches everybody. It's that kind of situation. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm sharing in the book, so that when you're sitting at your computer nervous about pressing the send button, you'll have that story in your mind and you'll hit it and see what happens.
Dope. That's awesome, man. Well, thank you for sharing that, man. I mean, that's powerful, and that wow, man. I mean, just the fact that I'm thinking about some other producers that had placements, and a lot of them say that artists picked the beats that they never thought they would have picked before. So even though you're having doubts about certain beats, even if you would have sent it, Ghost probably, he might have still picked it anyway, even though you might not have liked it. You know what I mean? So I don't know if I'm coming off, if that even makes sense, but yeah,
I talk about that in the book. Like that happens all the time. It's never the joints that we think
Yep.
are crazy. It's like some random thing you tossed on the CD to fill space,
right? And
that ends up becoming a smash record. And so even from that aspect alone, it's like you may as well just throw it on there and see what happens.
Yep,
but
exactly.
You have a conversation with yourself.
Wow, man. Well, thank you for sharing that, man. I mean, beat grinders, you guys probably know, and Chris, you're about to find out I'm not perfect myself, and that's why I'm an aspiring producer now and not a producer, is because of this right here, doubt, fear, and so a lot of this stuff does resonate with me and it hits home. And so, I just appreciate you sharing that, and, and it kind of gives me a little something to push me forward, man, to make me have to press in, so no matter what, whether I like a beat or not. So
absolutely,
that's what's up, man. All right, man. Well, let's get to the other side of this, man. And we spent too much time on this nasty side, man. Now we're gonna hop over the fence, man, and get to the greatest achievements, man. I want to know, what's the greatest achievement that you've had in your career so far?
I would say recognizing that this book was the purpose all along.
Nice.
One of my readers hit me and was just like pouring out thank yous, man, and said, I believe your whole purpose was to make beats and suck and create the perspective to write this book. I think this is why you're here. Wow. And I was like, damn, fam, like that's heavy, man, but thank you. And he's right. We always think that what we're working on at the moment is the end all be all and our ultimate purpose, and may just be a part of the path towards getting you somewhere else. That takes patience and perspective,
Right.
So yeah, man, I think that was really the greatest achievement, kind of not being down on myself for not going where I wanted to go as a producer, but kind of recognizing it was only a pathway to help me do something else.
That's dope, man. That's awesome right there, man. I honestly, I'm kind of struggling with it. I'm an aspiring producer, came across this podcast, and I hear from people as well that, the podcast is, it helped people as well. And, but I still have this dream of making it as a producer. And so I oftentimes struggle with it, man. But, that's great for you, man, just to know that, you're helping people, and just the fact that someone said maybe it was meant for you to suck at making beats, so that way you can be an educator and you can inspire other people, man. That's great, man. That's
Well, let me chime in, man, because I appreciate you kind of acknowledging your own struggles, and the truth is, struggles are part of this shit. Don't spend a moment being angry at yourself or the game because you're struggling. That is built in. That's number one. This is about struggle. And I'm very upfront about that in the book, almost to the point of being a little shocking, and telling producers, like, you are walking into the lion's den, and you've chosen a very difficult path. And I wanna strengthen you as you read this book to prepare you to walk through it. So just, struggle is a part of it. I hope everyone that's listening knows you're not alone. There's a lot of, there are far more producers than there are slots. And whenever that's the case, the world is going to test you to figure out who wants to get there. And, with that in mind, you just got to pick yourself up and keep walking.
Wow. Dope, man. Dope. Dropping gems, man. Dropping gems. So thank you for that, man. That's awesome right there, man.
No doubt.
All right, man. Well, what was the moment that you knew that you had to write this book, man, and you had to put down the beat machine for a little bit and crank this book out? What was that transitioning point that made you want to do that?
It was kind of easy, man, because I'm a writer first. I got into production. My natural talent is more writing than beat making, and the information was just kind of pouring out of me. And I think that was kind of the sign, like, okay, this is real. My very first draft, I was just kind of scribbling words as fast as I could, trying to keep up with my brain, and filling up blank sheets of paper back and forth until they were kind of just growing into a pile of words. And so I knew immediately, like, this is real. And when I got the idea to interview the successful producers, and I was hearing some of the stuff that they were saying to me, I was like, yo, this is crazy. This is an inside perspective into what it's really like. And the final piece was just giving away early drafts for people to read and see action. And I was like, yo, okay, this is real. And luckily, it all turned out to be accurate, because I'm still getting messages from producers. They're like, yo, thanks for writing this, man. This is incredible.
That's dope, man. That's dope. You probably felt like you said, you had like insider stuff and you just had to get it out, huh? That's what's up, man. So you said that your book is based on 24 laws to help producers reach their goals. What do you think are the most important 3 laws in your book?
So I was reading that question earlier, man. You know how hard that is to answer.
I know. I'm sure they're all important for a certain reason, man. But I mean, if you just had to, you know, I mean, if there is a producer that, you know, and they're like, you know, hey, I'm just trying to make it in this game. I mean, what would be just quick points that you would give them? 3 laws.
You know what? I'll make it easy and boil it down to 1.
Okay.
So all the laws, they're different sides of the same problem. But there's one chapter called Know Thyself. And the importance of that is to understand or be honest with who you are as it relates to being creative and putting art into the world. That's connected to every other chapter.
Nice.
Because if we can get to that level of honesty, then we can start to see the shit that we do and understand why we do it and eradicate it if it's a problem.
Right. Nice.
So for the previous example, I talked about doubt. You know, had I had the insight of knowing myself, I could have been honest and been like, you know what, last time I did this caused a problem. I'm not going to do this anymore. And that's how we kind of elevate as creators, by looking at the things that are not serving us and having the discipline and the courage to be like, I'm putting that away. You know, I'm not going to go to another and not talk to anybody. I'm not going to spend another session, you know, being scared to play my music or whatever it may be.
Right.
And so if you can, you know yourself and have that level of honesty, I think all the other chapters will serve you greatly.
Dope, man. That's a great one right there. Are you familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk?
Very much so, yes.
Yeah, he always says, you know, self-awareness is the most important thing. You know, you just got to know yourself, know your tendencies, know, you know, exactly who you are, and just move from there. You know, I agree with that. You know, I think, you know, you definitely need to know who you are, and then the action needs to happen from there.
Yeah, yes, that's the other half. We
Yep.
can read all day, you know?
Right.
We can listen to Vaynerchuk all day. Are we going to take action?
Right. Dope, man. Dope. All right. Well, that's what's up, man. Thank you for sharing that, man. So how does somebody, who is a beat maker, you know, like me, how does a beat maker go from being that and turn themselves into a quote unquote music producer? You know, because there is a difference between the two, you know.
For sure. And I talk about that difference. You know, I think deciding first, you know, being clear what your vision is. And if you actually say, okay, I want to be a producer, then you have to do those things that turn you into a producer, right?
Right.
And so that's why I say the decision comes first. And with that decision breeds new action. I was the beat maker. I don't even like to call myself a producer because I feel like I'm mislabeling what I did.
Right.
I sat in my room, I made dope beats, and I played them over again for me. And when it came time to move into producer mode, I was nervous. You know, I didn't decide to do it. So be clear about your vision, decide, and then you have to start taking those actions. Do what producers do. And it's like, what do producers do? Well, yeah, they sit there and they create, right? But that's only a portion of their process. They're making relationships. They're signing artists to production deals. They're bringing talent to labels. They're crafting visions for artists. They're assisting in the actual total creation of the song, not just making the beat, working with harmonies, engineering the session, working with the songwriters, working with the backup singers. You know, there's an entire spectrum of responsibilities that go along with being a producer that the beat maker hasn't ascended to yet. And so I would say that if you're going to decide to be a producer, then you have to do on a daily basis what producers do. And that's more than just sitting at your keyboard and being creative.
Dope, man. That's awesome. So, for somebody who's just sitting in their bedroom making beats and just only playing them for themselves, what do you think is the first piece of action that they can take starting today to turn themselves into a producer?
Go out and find a partner.
Nice. To make beats with, or to record with, or a vocalist.
Find a writer. Find something that's going to take you out of your comfort zone and make some dope songs. You know, At the end of the day, that's like, yes, we have to churn out beats, but at the end of the day, 99% of the population is listening to dope songs.
Right.
And so if you kind of create this circle of amazing writers and artists to work with, so that you're producing a product that's, you know, ready for the population, you know, that's what a producer does. So immediately shake yourself out of this notion of sitting in your room by yourself and go find someone to collaborate with and start sharpening the producer skills.
Woo, man. Wow. Gems, man. Gems. That's what's up, man. Well, thank you for that, man. Beat grinders, I hope you guys are, if you guys are like me, you know, and I often do that, you know, I sit in my room and I make beats, and, you know, man, I definitely need to make a few phone calls and definitely start meeting some people and collabing, man. So, wow. Okay. Well, thank you for that, man. So, you know, you often talk about fear. You've talked about fear in this interview already, you know, and you talk about it in the book as well. But what are some of the things that aspiring producers, beat makers can do to knock down the walls of fear?
Fear is dangerous, man. And I think you understand that, you appreciate that, and anybody who's art kind of recognizes how it can just completely take you off course. And there's no sexy formula for dealing with fear other than doing the very thing that scares the hell out of you. If you have an issue with speaking in public, then you know what you have to do. You have to find an audience. Maybe you start small, there's 3 people in it, and then there's 13 next time and 23 the next, but you have to go speak. If you're terrified of ducks or clowns or whatever it is, go feed some ducks. Go hang out at the amusement park. Find whatever, because at the end of the day, it's that barrier or that problem that's preventing you from something you need to achieve on the other side.
Right.
And in our case, you know, we were just talking about collaboration. If it scares the hell out of you to have to go find songwriters and singers to go work with, that's what you have to do if you've decided that you want to become this thing, right? And there's no way around it. So go towards the danger.
Nice, man. And you know, also it's healthy too to be fearful. You know, everybody has fear. No one is fearless, you know.
Right.
I like how you said that. And, you know, oftentimes my fear is letting others hear my music because of some sort of self-doubt, you know. So I guess in this case, you know, it's just, you know, I guess maybe just going ahead and putting out a beat CD or just letting people that I'm usually not comfortable with hearing my music, just let them hear the music.
Oh, yeah. I'll do all of that too, bro. I know. I got a chapter on that, man. I got a whole chapter just on that because I know how many people are affected by that.
Nice.
People go through so many things to protect these beats, and you know, we'll play them for particular people. We're anticipating, oh, he's gonna like this, so I'm gonna play him, you know, 1, 3, and 7 because I'm safe. You know what I'm saying? It's like, nah, man. You gotta throw out them other tracks, and if they make that face and they don't like them, you gotta. That's part of the process. Right.
And I guess, you know, at the end, I mean, the end goal is to have everyone hear your music anyway. You know, so might as well just get it over with and do it now. You know, I mean, if you want to become that big producer, you know, the world is gonna hear your music anyway. So, you know, I mean, that's, I don't know. It sounds crazy that I'm saying it, you know, because I have that fear, you know, that I don't want everyone to hear my music, but that's the goal, is to have everyone hear my music, you know. So it's just kind of funny. It's kind of funny for me to just speak it out like that, but
nah, it's real, man. Troy Taylor who has had an amazing career in music and producing for decades. And I'm probably going to butcher his quote, but he said something to me along the lines of, I'm making music for other people to hear, and I'll try to tell you how to feel about what you're hearing from me.
Wow.
I don't have control over how you receive it. And so it's up to my standards. And of course, he's a professional, so his standards are pretty damn good. Then I'm good with what I put out.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely, you can't control other people and how they feel. All you can do is control yourself and what you put out. And you just gotta roll with it.
Precisely.
Okay, man. Well, you do deal with music licensing, and so I want to know, is it possible for a beat maker to have a career? Because, maybe somebody just wants to do that, just wants to make beats and, send them out to be on video games or TV shows or movies. Is it possible for that to happen?
Absolutely, man. Licensing it's become a whole nother avenue for so many creators. That's what attracted me to licensing, to sync. It's another outlet. We don't have to be pigeonholed to major labels. We can work with brands and agencies and shows as well. Now I'm picking up, you said, can a beat maker have success? Absolutely. At the end of the day, if you're a dope beat maker and you have volume, you can make noise in sync. Not immediate noise. Sync takes time, just like everything else. But you can build up a catalog of quality tracks and have them working on your behalf 24/7.
Nice.
Now, on the other side of that, a producer can also do what the beat maker is doing. But the most successful people that I've seen in sync, the guys who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year from their craft, they are producers. And what sets them apart is, number one, they can make music in almost any genre. Two, they can make music on demand. And so if they get a call from a music supervisor or someone, a creative director working at an agency, and they're like, here's the brief, I need the sound to be warm and happy, and I need a ukulele and some wind chimes, and I need it back 24 hours, and the budget's 40 grand. Well, 95% of the game can't craft something with wind chimes, a ukulele that sounds warm and happy, and get it back in that time frame. And there are people out there who can, and those dudes make bank.
Wow.
And that comes with hammering on your craft to the point where you can do whatever you need to do in the studio and do it quickly.
That's dope, man. That's dope. So I mean, even in this field, there's a wide gap between the producers and the beat makers.
There is, and I always say this: I never ever want to discount beat makers. Beat making is a critical skill. It's a first step on the way to production, and if anyone decides that they want to stay a beat maker, more power to you. What you consider fun, that's what makes your heart sing. You don't want to get into all the extra stuff of production, that's fine. So I just like to put that out there. I don't want to ever give the vibes out I look down upon beat makers. I think beat makers and producers are both dope, and they both provide a critical service.
Dope. Okay, nice. What's your opinion on selling and leasing beats online?
You know what, man? What's crazy is that I've never really spoken on that subject. I didn't have enough information to really have an opinion on it. And I just read a really dope article from a guy. He's actually the author of another book on production. He had a featured article on, I think it was DJBooth.net. And, he was talking about why he, stopped shopping tracks to MCs and started getting into the leasing game. And he really offered a great perspective and kind of saying that, it's such a grind waiting to be picked in music. And a lot of production is kind of waiting with your hand up for someone to come along and say, hey, I want your beats. And that process can take years. It's emotionally draining. It's detrimental to your pockets. And, he was like, you know what? I had enough of that. And he realized that through releasing beats, he can kind of take more control of himself and his career and pick himself. And I think people who want to sell beats online and kind of they're picking themselves. They're raising their own hands and saying, I'm going to do me. Nice. And which is the same thing that, it's the same process of sync licensing. Essentially, you're reselling a product over and over again. So from those perspectives, I dig it. I respect it. My only question that I haven't really had answered, and I'd be curious to know what your audience thinks is, once you become a beat leaser, are you always branded as a beat leaser? You know what I'm saying? Like right. It's kind of okay, you do that now, so there's no space reserved for you in working with the big dogs. Right. Is it a branding thing? And I'm curious, has anybody had experience kind of being pigeonholed as one thing or the other?
Right, because you do hear that. I've often heard that once you start doing it, there's no coming back from it. But there are some producers, Taz Taylor, but there are some producers that have had success in both. But I don't know too many. But Chris asked you guys, the beat grinders, to provide an answer for him. So if you guys want to hit him up on Instagram or something and let him know, if you guys can chime in on the conversation and let him know, that would definitely be great. So
and to that point, I would, if I were doing it, I would create a what's the term, an alias.
Oh yeah, right.
I'll find me some stock photo of some dude. I would put a Twitter handle, Instagram handle, and I would create a site, and I would funnel all my beats through that leasing. I'm over here grinding in the studio, doing my major label hustle, and you would have, it was me until I had to reveal it. But DJs and artists, they create other personas all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Years can go by before we realize, oh, that's such and such. Under a different artist. And so hell, that's what I would do.
That's not a bad idea. That's what's up. So you would straight up have a burner account, I guess. Have a couple of burner accounts and just do it that way.
Yeah. Why not?
Oh, okay. That's what's up, man. That's not a bad idea, actually. So. All right, man. Well, what licensing company company do you work for, and how could music producers benefit from connecting with that licensing company?
So I actually am working for me.
Okay.
I provide coaching on sync licensing to producers. Previous to that, I was working for a company called Music Dealers, which was at its heyday a really awesome company, but wasn't the best with handling money, and kind of went down with a bad rep, unfortunately. But I was there for about 6-7 years, man, and when we were cranking at our best, we were really doing some awesome work for the artist community, essentially putting millions back into the pockets of artists through sync licensing.
Okay. Well, that's what's up, man. So you said you now have your own company. Is there and you actually provide coaching for music producers to start licensing their own music, right?
Yeah. Producers hit me all the time after reading the book, and they want. It's one thing to read it, but they want another perspective on their music and kind of if they're properly applying what they read. So I'll have conversations with producers and kind of, be that give them that bird's eye view and kind of give them my perspective on what they're doing and based on what their goals are. And then a lot of producers are kind of just now getting into sync or have been in sync for a while, and sync is hard like everything else, man. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of publishing involved, a lot of paperwork, a lot of strategy to kind of flesh out. And I love to give them a little direction and things to think about as they're, creating and pursuing aspects of the business.
That's dope, man. That's dope. I mean, it's almost, it seems kind of like a mentorship in a certain way. Like you said, you can read the book but just to go a little in depth and get coaching as well. So.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's what's up, man. I know that we've mentioned it throughout the interview, but what are some qualities that a music producer must possess in order to be successful in this game?
So yeah, talent and skill, we're just going to assume that that's top notch. I think being able to connect with people is incredibly important, both from a networking and building relationships point of view, and also from a bonding with artists point of view. That's one of those other pieces of being a producer that, goes unmentioned. Being able to create that vibe in the studio and kind of bring the best out of an artist. And lastly, I would say, you got a question?
I was gonna say, a lot of times some producers are antisocial, because they are just sitting in the room by themselves, banging out beats, So I mean, there's not really. I mean, is there a way to work on that at all, or I mean, I guess like you said, you just have to jump into it, right? The best way to get over that is to just start practicing talking to people, right? Or just throw yourself into networking. Is that? I mean, would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And that's not to say that anti-social producers can't win. There are definitely some weirdo, strange cats making music just like in any other line of work. And, they find people like them to vibe with.
Nice.
And the other thing is you'll see some producers who have, a homeboy or a partner who does all the talking. It's a strategy as well. You're completely inept in that ability. Who's the homie who can talk to anybody? Maybe you have some kind of deal with them where they're making the relationships and you kind of just slide in, come collaboration time.
Nice.
And I've seen people do that as well. So, there are ways to get around it, but I would definitely encourage people to work on that muscle, that relationship muscle.
Right.
And lastly, I would say just resilience. Have incredible resilience to be in music. This shit will hammer on you, and you're either going to crack or you're going to become hardened by it. And you just have to be resilient to be in music.
Dope, man. Dope. That's awesome right there, man. Well, thank you for providing those, man. Definitely something that we all need to, be writing down on paper and looking at every day, just as a daily reminder, So that's what's up. You said resilience, networking, being able to socialize, and was there another one? Or was that it? Just those two?
No, I would say just like a whatever it takes mentality.
Okay.
That's something I got from reading Tony Robbins back in the day. Whatever it takes, man. And when you live kind of with that mindset, like that's unstoppable. That's willing to do crazy things to achieve your goals, where someone else is like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
But the results are, years later.
Right.
If you can, and I'm not saying like I have this conquered, like no way. I'm still working on this myself, as are many people. But we come across some people who will do whatever it takes to get where they're trying to go, and we look at them like, damn, that's inspiring.
Right. Yep.
So
awesome,
yeah, those three.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for those, man. Really appreciate that, man. All right, man. Well, of course, I am gonna provide, your book in the show notes. But I want to know, do you have another book besides one of your own that you think every producer should be reading?
Yeah, man, I have a few. I would say definitely read the Plain and Simple Guide to Music Publishing. If you're really trying to do this, then there's no getting around the business and of the publishing. I would say two of the best music books I've read were the biography of Jimi Hendrix and the autobiography of Quincy Jones.
Wow.
Incredible books, man. And of course, being top level musicians in history, just kind of seeing their path and, seeing how they approach music and the things they've gone through and what they've managed to accomplish. Hella inspiring, man. And I could name books all day because I'm a nerd, read everything. But those three came to mind.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys know what you need to be doing is you guys need to be ordering those three books along with Chris's book. So you guys definitely go cop those. And also, if you guys don't have time to read, like most producers don't, because you're banging away on the keyboard or on the beat machine, but I know that you guys always have headphones on and you guys like audio, why don't you go over and head over to beatsbooks.com and go grab a free audio book, just like one that Chris mentioned. All right, man. Well, is there an internet resource that you use that you think every producer could benefit from? When I say internet resource, I mean like a mobile app or a website.
No apps per se, man. I'm a big fan of I like to check out articles on like production sites where the inside is real and honest. DJ Booth always has like very insightful pieces. YouTube is, of course, is incredible in terms of just showing you their process. There's really no reason to have like terrible sounding beats or issues. It's just so much information that there wasn't back in the day. And I listen to a lot of podcasts, man, and just from a general knowledge point of view. Just so you're like always kind of, leveling up with new information and kind of learning about new things. So I'm big on podcasts, man.
Dope. What are some of your favorite podcasts?
Favorite podcasts. I just got into one called Order of Man, which is like super dope, man. It's kind of talking about like, what goes into making a modern day man and kind of the challenges that men face.
Okay.
God, I listen to so many. I listen to like entrepreneur podcasts. I think one is like Built This with NPR, which is that joint is incredible. With
you said built this?
How I Built This.
Oh, How I Built This. Okay.
And producers are entrepreneurial in themselves, so this is like the head of Starbucks or like the head of Atari, coming up talking about just every step of making their company, and it's hella inspirational. So I would say definitely check that out.
Okay, for sure, man. Well, I definitely will, man. I'll have to hit subscribe on those. So, all right, man. Well, we ask every guest this, and so I gotta, you're no different. I gotta ask you, man. Who's on your Mount Rushmore for producers? If you had to take a pick and a hammer and create 4 faces in Mount Rushmore, man, what producers are going up on there?
The 4 producers, I love music that I like to be confused. And I like to hear something and be like, yo, how in the hell did they come up with that? Where did that chord come from? Where did that song come from? Where did that melody come from? I like to be confused. Like I hate music. And the cats that have probably given me the most screw faces over time probably be Pharrell, part of the Neptunes. You know, gotta keep chatting there as well. Timbaland, Just Blaze, and The Alchemist.
Dope, man. Dope. Yeah, man. I mean, I agree with you, man. All those guys will definitely leave you confused and just wondering, like, what the hell did they just do? And I definitely need to go work on my shit. So, because I mean, all those guys are different, man. I mean, they don't sound like anyone else, you know. And they just they've created their own path, and with the exception, well, Timberland too, I guess. I was gonna say, you know, it's hard to mimic those guys because you don't really know what they're doing. So they've created a trail of their own, you know, that is unmatched. But I guess Neptunes is somewhat been copied. I don't know. It's kind of hard to mimic their sound, but Alchemist for sure hasn't been too much. But
yeah, and that's kind of an interesting point, man. I didn't even think about that when I was thinking up those four. They all have distinct sounds. Makes you wonder, you know, is that a part of becoming a legend? Right. You know, having a distinct sound. When you hear those dudes' beats, you usually know it's them.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? What does that mean to success and longevity? I don't know. I don't want to, you know, just assume that, but that's an interesting thing to think about.
Right.
Especially in the era of so much music sounding like other music. You know, I always wonder, are producers really being themselves?
Right. And, you know, those guys have adjusted with the times, even though their music doesn't sound like everything that's popping. You know, Timbaland's music has obviously shifted. You know, we've seen that. I've recently listened to some old Alchemist, and then listened to some new Alchemist, and I'm like, whoa, wait, this guy, he sounds, you know, almost completely different. You know, Neptunes, they don't have the same, you know, video game-ish kind of pew, pew, pew. They don't have that anymore. You know, everybody's kind of, Just Blaze has definitely shifted. You know, he's gone into a totally different, you know, like making music with, I think the kid's name is Bauer or something like that, making like EDM or something like that. So
I talk about that shit in the book, man. I specifically mentioned Just Blaze and that Bauer collaboration. What I was talking about is just what you're saying. There's an art to maintaining that piece of you, but still moving with the times, and have to move with the times. And think about just the sheer number of producers who we don't talk about anymore. And like that's kind of heartbreaking, because it reminds us that the ship keeps moving. Yeah. And you have to move with the ship. And there's a fine balance between moving with the ship, but still maintaining a piece of your own authenticity as an artist. And I think that's where that success kind of lies. Is how do I maintain this me, but my sound is current, you know?
So I gotta ask you, man, because there's one producer that I think hasn't really shifted his sound too much, but he's still pretty relevant, and he's a legend. And that's DJ Premier. You know, he still has his signature sound, even though I think he's definitely switched it up for the Prime albums a little bit. But I mean, what would you say about him? Is he's just a person that he just defies the odds, I guess, right? Or I mean,
he's at such a high level that his success is in not changing his sound, because when you go to Premier, you want what he's known for. You hear Premier doing a trap beat, because you're gonna be like, what the hell is that? Right. You want that old school sound, and you know, a certain feeling to your record. You wanna borrow that nostalgia, or you want to capture that sound, and you have to go to him to get that.
Right. Nice. And only him.
Right.
That's dope, man. Yep. Exactly. Okay, man. Well, you know, I want you just to imagine that a producer, lost everything that he had. And when I say everything, I mean his music equipment, his contacts, everything except for the knowledge he's gained and $1,000. What do you suggest that he do or she do in the next week to restart their career?
So I talked about this. Hen from the business, Henny the Business, sharing a story of how he had been robbed, had hard drives stolen from the studio. And I was saying in the book, like in the blink of an eye, you're talking about potential millions of dollars worth of intellectual property just being gone.
Wow. Yep.
And because Hen is such a positive dude with an amazing point of view and perspective, it's like, you know what? It became something that made us stronger. Became a positive thing for us because it showed us that no matter what was stolen from us, you couldn't take the skill that we built in the process of making this music.
Right.
And that's the same advice for anyone who finds himself in the same situation. The skill and the talent is there, and it's tragic, and there's nothing worse than losing music or having it stolen. But you've put yourself in a position to recreate that music or better music in the future.
Nice.
And from the monetary point of view, I mean, hell, you can make music on anything nowadays. So it's not like back in the day when that $1,000 didn't buy you much.
Right.
The blessing of technology now is that you can pretty much get started on something minimal. So I would say, spend a few of those days, feeling depressed, and then wrap it up and get back on track and recognize you're going to come out stronger for it.
Dope, man. That's a great answer right there, man. Like you said, you can make beats on anything. I think beatmaker costs $10, and I've heard people crank out some bangers on there. The reason why I asked this question is lots of people that listen to this show that want to know how to get started, and they may only have $1,000 or less. And or there's people that like we said, have had stuff stolen and just want to know what's the next move that I can make. So thank you for providing that answer, man. And it's tough. I've had a hard drive break on me, just like tons of other people, and I wanted to cry. I didn't, but I wanted to. If I could have, I would have. But you just have to realize that like you said, that skill is still there, that talent's still there, and it may be a chance to recreate yourself. So,
and to that point, back up your stuff, please. Redundant hard drives is okay, and copyright your stuff, man. I mean, it can't always help. There are instances where people can get around, or it's too much of a hassle for legal stuff, but if you have the funds to keep to continuously copyright your new work, then you may as well.
How much stuff can you copyright at once? Because I know that it can get pretty spendy. Like you don't want to copyright one beat at a time. You know what I mean? Do you know how many beats at a time you can copyright?
I have not copywritten a gang of beats in many years, but I do remember there being collections. Maybe 20, 30 at a time. That could be different now. But like as a single work, you can copyright the work on a collection.
Oh, nice.
So it's a relatively cost-effective way to at least have some sort of protection. Worst case, that record becomes a smash somewhere else. You would want to have some kind of paperwork and say this existed before you got it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, that's what's up, man. That's definitely something to keep in mind right there, man. So, all right, man. Well, you dropped tons of gems in this interview, man, and I want to thank you for that, man. But now I'm just gonna ask you just to drop one more, man. or actually maybe two. I want you to give me the best piece of advice that was given to you in the past few years, and also the best piece of advice that you would have for all the beat grinders listening.
Well, as a person who reads a lot of amazing books and has had a lot of great friends and mentors, it's hard for me to kind of distill into a single piece. But if I had to focus, I would say what I've gotten is the same is what I would give back in terms of wisdom, and that's fear not, know thyself, and cultivate vision.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, thank you for that, man. You dropped lots of gems on this interview, man. Definitely gave me something to listen to many times, and I'm sure the beat grinders listening gives them something to go back and listen to over and over. And also, if they don't have your book already, now you guys are aware of the book, and you guys definitely need to go get it and learn a lot from this guy, from Chris Mayday Rucks. So, Chris, if you have any more words for the listeners, if you want to let them know how to contact you, if there's anything that they need to be looking out from you, what you already have in store and what you have in store coming up, and already what you have, the book or anything else, man, let them know.
For sure, man. Well, one, I have I'm a brother in production, so I'm always with you in terms of respecting and appreciating the grind. And I know what it's like. It's a beautiful thing, but it's a hard thing at the same time. And that's why the book was written. And you can cop it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, domainbeats.com. You guys can find me at Mayday the Monster, MAYDAYTHEMONSTA. And just keep up with me, man. I'm always doing dropping dope content and writing little things here and there to kind of inspire people. And you can also hit me up for coaching if anybody has any deep things they need to get into regarding production or sync. I'm here.
Oh, man. Well, awesome, man. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on here and blessing the beat grinding community, man. Really appreciate it, man.
Word. I'm grateful to be here, man. This is an honor, and thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. And beat grinders, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Beats Grinding Life. If you guys picked up any gems from this episode, which I'm sure you did, because man, Chris dropped them everywhere, man. Please be sure to share this episode on Instagram, on Facebook, any social platform, and just let everybody know how good of an interview this was, and let everyone know how well of a job Chris did of providing us with valuable information. Tag him and let him know what you guys got from this podcast on Instagram or any other social platform that he's on, and also give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. That would be great. And that just lets everyone know about this podcast. It brings awareness. So you guys already know how it goes. You've been mentored again this week by another great person, and this time you've been mentored by Chris Rucks. So continue making beats, stay on your grind, and live life. All right, peace, y'all.
Peace.
Here at Beats Grinding Life, we want to thank you for listening to another episode. We want to know, what were your biggest takeaways from this interview? Just go to beatsgrindinglife.com and leave a comment on this episode's show notes page. Also, while you are there, go subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Just click the little button that says subscribe. If you could, please leave a rating and review. Rating and reviews are the best way to show your appreciation because it helps more people find out about the podcast. So until next week's episode, keep grinding.